Ladies and gentlemen, let me share with you something essential about life that most people overlook. It is not what happens to you that matters most, it is how you choose to react. When you build your life on this understanding, you unlock an inner strength that cannot be shaken by external forces. Emotional detachment is one of the most misunderstood principles when it comes to navigating life's challenges. Often people assume that to detach emotionally means to become indifferent or uncaring, as if it implies a lack of concern for the outcomes of their efforts or the situations around them. But that is far from the truth. Emotional detachment is not about refusing to care. It is about learning to manage your emotional responses in such a way that you are not controlled by them. It is about being able to face life's inevitable ups and downs with a steady mind and heart, allowing you to focus your energy where it truly matters. When you are too emotionally invested in the outcomes of every situation, it's easy to lose balance. You become like a ship tossed by the waves, swayed by every high and low, unable to maintain course. Life is unpredictable. There will be moments of joy and moments of sorrow, times of success and times of failure. If you allow your emotional state to be governed by every external event, then you give away your power to those events. You are no longer in control of your inner world because you've handed that control to circumstances beyond your influence. The key to emotional detachment is reclaiming that power. What does it look like in practice? It starts with understanding that there are things in life you simply cannot control. You cannot control how other people will react. You cannot control every outcome, no matter how hard you work or how much effort you put in. You cannot stop the unexpected from happening. Recognizing this is the first step toward freeing yourself from the emotional turmoil that comes from trying to manage things outside your sphere of influence. Consider how much energy is wasted on worrying about outcomes that may never come to pass. How often have you found yourself anxious about a meeting, a relationship, or a decision, only to realize afterward that the worry was unfounded? Or perhaps the outcome didn't turn out the way you wanted, and you spend days, weeks, even months dwelling on it, unable to move forward. This is what happens when we care too much about things we cannot control. The energy you spend worrying, overthinking, and stressing is energy that could have been directed towards something constructive, toward growth, learning, or simply enjoying the present moment. When you detach emotionally, you begin to conserve that energy. Instead of reacting impulsively to every challenge, you start to respond thoughtfully. You become more grounded, more centered, because you are no longer being pulled in different directions by external events. This doesn't mean you don't care about the things that matter to you. It means that you understand that caring doesn't require obsession. Caring doesn't mean losing your peace of mind every time something goes wrong. You can care deeply about something, put in your best effort, and still remain detached from the outcome. That is the balance you must strike. Let's take a practical example. Imagine you're working toward a significant goal, perhaps a promotion at work, or building a business, or completing a long-term project. Naturally, you care about the outcome. You want to succeed, and you're willing to put in the effort to make that happen. But what happens if you become too emotionally invested? Every setback feels like a catastrophe. Every obstacle feels personal. But you start to lose sleep over things that, in the grand scheme of life, may not be as important as you've made them out to be. You begin to doubt yourself, and your motivation starts to fade. Now, imagine approaching that same goal with a sense of emotional detachment. You still care about the outcome, you still work hard, you still strive for excellence, but you don't let every minor setback affect your emotional state. You recognize that some things are beyond your control, and you let go of the need to micromanage every aspect of the process. You trust that, as long as you're doing your part, the outcome will take care of itself in time. You stay calm, you stay focused, and most importantly, you remain resilient, able to bounce back from challenges without being emotionally drained. Detachment allows you to see things more clearly. When you're too emotionally invested, your judgment becomes clouded. You're more likely to make impulsive decisions driven by fear or anxiety. But when you're emotionally detached, you can evaluate situations more objectively. You can assess risks and opportunities without being overwhelmed by them. This clarity is invaluable, especially when faced with tough decisions or difficult circumstances. In essence, emotional detachment gives you the freedom to live more fully. It allows you to engage with life without being held captive by it. You are able to enjoy the highs without fearing the lows. You are able to work toward your goals without becoming discouraged by setbacks. You are able to care deeply, but wisely. This is not a detachment from life, it is a mastery of life. It is understanding that your peace of mind, your well-being, and your emotional health are too important to be left at the mercy of uncontrollable external events. So, whatever happens, do not care too much about the temporary outcomes. Care about the process, care about the journey, care about your growth. But above all, care for your inner peace, because that is where your true strength lies. Perspective is a powerful tool in shaping how we experience life. Many people go through their days reacting to circumstances as though they are victims of events, allowing external situations to dictate their emotions, thoughts, and ultimately their actions. But what if I told you that it's not the events themselves that shape your life, but rather the way you choose to perceive them? In fact, how you view the situations that arise can mean the difference between a life filled with frustration and a life of empowerment and growth. Every day we encounter situations that challenge us. These may range from minor inconveniences, like being stuck in traffic, to more significant life events, such as the loss of a job or a personal relationship. In moments like these, it's easy to feel as though life is working against us. We ask ourselves, why is this happening to me, or what did I do to deserve this? These questions come from a place of feeling powerless. When you view events through the lens of victimhood, you believe that life is something that happens to you, rather than something that you are actively a part of. This mindset keeps you stuck in a cycle of helplessness and negativity. However, the key to breaking free from this cycle lies in understanding that while you cannot always control what happens to you, you can always control how you respond to it. This is where perspective becomes critical. The ability to shift your mindset from one of victimhood to one of empowerment is transformative. Instead of seeing challenges as obstacles designed to hold you back, you begin to view them as opportunities for growth, learning, and improvement. Consider this: every difficult situation carries within it the seed of possibility. When you encounter a setback, you have two choices. You can either allow it to weigh you down, leading to feelings of frustration, anger, or despair, or you can look at it as an invitation to grow stronger, wiser, and more resilient. The situation itself doesn't change. What changes is how you see it. This shift in perspective allows you to take control of your experience rather than being controlled by it. Take, for example, someone who has just lost their job. At first glance, this may seem like a devastating blow, especially if it was unexpected. It's natural to feel upset, anxious, or even fearful of the future. However, when you apply the principle of perspective, you begin to see that this loss, though painful, may also be a door to new opportunities. Maybe it's the push you needed to finally pursue a passion you've been neglecting. Maybe it's a chance to learn new skills or explore a different career path. The situation has not changed. You are still without a job, but the way you choose to see it can completely alter the course of your life. This same principle applies to smaller, everyday challenges. Think about something as simple as getting stuck in traffic. Most people would see this as an inconvenience, a waste of time that makes them feel annoyed or frustrated. But what if, instead of focusing on the delay, you saw it as an opportunity to enjoy some quiet time, to listen to an audiobook or podcast that inspires you, or to reflect on your day? Again, the situation itself has not changed. You are still in traffic, but your perspective has transformed the experience from one of frustration to one of possibility and even gratitude. The ability to shift perspective is especially important when it comes to failure. Many people fear failure because they believe it is a reflection of their worth. They see it as something to be avoided at all costs, a mark against their abilities or their potential. But failure, when viewed from a different perspective, is not the end. It is simply part of the process of learning and growth. Every successful person has failed multiple times on their journey. What sets them apart is not that they avoided failure, but that they saw it as a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block. When you adopt this mindset, you stop fearing failure and start embracing it. You recognize that every mistake, every setback is an opportunity to learn something valuable about yourself and your journey. Instead of asking, why did this happen to me, you begin to ask, what can I learn from this? How can this help me grow? This shift in perspective changes the entire dynamic of how you approach life's challenges. It's also important to understand that perspective is not about denying reality or pretending that everything is always perfect. It's about acknowledging the difficulties while choosing to focus on what you can gain from them. It's about seeing the bigger picture. When you adopt this approach, you realize that life is not against you. It is simply unfolding in a way that is designed to help you grow into the person you are meant to be. Perspective is a choice. It's a tool that you can use to reshape your experiences and take control of how you respond to life's events. Instead of being reactive, you become proactive. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances and start seeing yourself as the creator of your own experience. By choosing to view challenges as opportunities and setbacks as lessons, you empower yourself to move through life with resilience, wisdom, and grace. You realize that no matter what happens, you're always in control of how you choose to see it, and that makes all the difference. The idea of focusing on the things you can control is central to living a balanced and fulfilling life. Too often, people expend enormous amounts of energy worrying about situations that are beyond their control, leading to stress, frustration, and a sense of powerlessness. What many fail to realize is that this habit of trying to control the uncontrollable is not only futile, but it also robs them of the ability to focus on what truly matters, the things they can influence. When you shift your attention away from external factors and focus on what is within your control, you reclaim your personal power and significantly improve your mental and emotional well-being. Life is full of uncertainties, and it's easy to get caught up in what's happening around you, whether it's world events, other people's opinions, or even unexpected challenges in your own life. However, the reality is that you have no control over these external forces. What you do have control over is how you choose to respond to them. By focusing on your reactions, your thoughts, your behavior, and the choices you make, you begin to operate from a place of empowerment rather than victimhood. Imagine you are facing a situation where someone criticizes you harshly or makes a decision that negatively impacts you. Your first instinct might be to feel angry, upset, or frustrated. You might start to wonder why this person treated you that way, or how unfair it is that their decision has caused you trouble. It's easy to get lost in this cycle of negative emotions, but what if instead you chose to focus on what you can control in that moment? You cannot control how someone else behaves or the decisions they make. You can, however, control how you interpret their actions and how you respond to them. You can choose to see their criticism as an opportunity for growth rather than a personal attack. You can decide whether to engage with their negativity or to rise above it. By shifting your focus from what they did to what you can do, you take back your power. You're no longer at the mercy of someone else's behavior or decisions. Instead, you are in control of your own response, your own peace of mind. This principle applies not just in personal relationships, but in every area of life. Whether you're facing challenges in your career, health issues, or unforeseen obstacles, the key to maintaining balance and a sense of inner calm lies in focusing on what is within your sphere of influence. When you constantly stress over things you cannot change, you waste valuable energy that could be better spent on taking action where it matters. By focusing on what you can control, your mindset, your actions, and your decisions, you position yourself to handle life's challenges more effectively. Take, for example, the workplace. Perhaps you're part of a team working on a project, and there's a deadline that you can't meet because of circumstances beyond your control. You might feel pressured or anxious about how your boss will react. In this situation, you could easily spiral into worrying about what others will think or how the situation will affect your standing in the company. But this approach will only add to your stress and prevent you from performing at your best. Alternatively, you could focus on the actions you can take. Maybe you can communicate openly with your team and your boss, offering solutions or a revised timeline. You can control how transparent you are, how proactive you are in problem solving, and how you manage your workload. By focusing on what's within your control, you not only improve your performance, but you also reduce the anxiety and stress that come from trying to control things you simply cannot. This mindset shift extends beyond day-to-day interactions. It affects how you approach long-term goals and setbacks. When you set a goal, there will inevitably be things outside your control: market conditions, timing, and other people's decisions, to name a few. If you focus too much on these external factors, you can become discouraged or even paralyzed by the fear of failure. But if you focus on what you can control, your effort, your persistence, and your willingness to adapt, you will find yourself much more resilient in the face of obstacles. The path to success becomes clearer because you are no longer distracted by the things you can't influence. Instead, you are laser focused on what you can do here and now to move yourself closer to your goals. Focusing on what you can control also fosters a sense of peace and reduces anxiety. When you're constantly worrying about things beyond your influence, it creates a sense of chaos and overwhelm. You feel like you're in a storm with no anchor. But when you focus on your own actions and responses, you create a sense of order within yourself, even if the world around you is uncertain. This inner calm allows you to think more clearly, make better decisions, and approach challenges with confidence. Ultimately, the power of focusing on what you can control lies in the freedom it offers. You free yourself from the burden of worrying about things that are not yours to carry. You free your mind from the endless cycle of what ifs and if onlys. You free your emotions from the turmoil of reacting to things you cannot change. Instead, you give yourself the gift of clarity, focus, and peace. You become the master of your own experience, no longer held back by the uncontrollable, but empowered by your ability to take charge of what truly matters: your actions, your mindset, and your growth. This is where true freedom and power lie. In life, we often find ourselves influenced by the opinions and judgments of others. From a young age, we are taught to seek validation from the people around us: our parents, teachers, peers, and eventually society at large. This conditioning can lead to a pattern where we begin to measure our worth and make decisions based on how others perceive us. But the truth is, when we live our lives trying to satisfy the expectations of others, we lose touch with our authentic selves. The opinions of others, though often well-meaning, should not dictate your sense of self-worth or how you choose to live your life. One of the most liberating realizations you can have is that other people's opinions are simply reflections of their own experiences, beliefs, and limitations, not of your potential or value. People will always have opinions. It's part of human nature to observe, judge, and form conclusions about the world and the people in it. These opinions can vary greatly depending on the person's background, culture, beliefs, and personal experiences. When someone criticizes you, it's easy to take it personally. You may start to question yourself, wondering if there's something wrong with you or if you should change to fit their expectations. But here's the reality: what people think about you often has more to do with them than it does with you. Their opinions are shaped by their own insecurities, fears, and biases. Just because someone holds a negative view of you doesn't mean that view is true, or that you need to adjust your behavior to satisfy them. Consider this: if you constantly live your life in an effort to please others or to avoid their criticism, you will never truly find peace. You will always be chasing after an ever-shifting target. What pleases one person may disappoint another. What one person finds admirable, another may criticize. No matter how hard you try, you will never be able to control how everyone perceives you. And the more you attempt to do so, the more you lose sight of who you truly are. Imagine someone who spends their entire life trying to live up to the expectations of others. Maybe they choose a career path not because it excites them, but because it's what their family wants. Or they pursue certain hobbies, adopt certain beliefs, or behave in certain ways because that's what their friends or society expects of them. Over time, this person may find that they are living a life that doesn't align with their true desires, passions, or values. The opinions of others have dictated their path, and in doing so, they've lost their own voice. This is the ultimate consequence of allowing other people's opinions to hold too much weight in your life. You end up living someone else's version of your life instead of your own. When you begin to see that other people's opinions are just that, opinions, not facts, you free yourself from the need to constantly seek approval. You start to understand that the only opinion that truly matters is your own. This doesn't mean you should ignore feedback or refuse to learn from others. Constructive criticism, when given with the right intent, can be incredibly valuable. But there is a difference between accepting helpful advice and allowing someone else's viewpoint to dictate your sense of self-worth or the direction of your life. This shift in mindset also requires you to develop a strong sense of self-awareness. You need to understand who you are, what you stand for, and what truly matters to you. When you are clear on your values, goals, and identity, it becomes much easier to let go of the need for external validation. You are no longer swayed by the changing tides of public opinion because you are anchored in your own truth. This internal strength allows you to navigate life with confidence and authenticity, regardless of what others may think or say. One of the keys to achieving this mindset is understanding that not everyone will understand or agree with your choices, and that's okay. We live in a world filled with diverse perspectives and beliefs, and it's unrealistic to expect universal approval. There will always be people who disagree with you or who don't see the world the way you do. But their disagreement doesn't diminish your worth or the validity of your path. In fact, it's often in those moments of resistance or criticism that you grow stronger in your convictions and more confident in your ability to stand by your decisions. It's also important to recognize that the people who matter most in your life are those who support and respect you for who you truly are, not for how well you fit into their expectations. Surround yourself with individuals who encourage you to pursue your passions, even if they don't always align with their own preferences. These are the people who understand that your journey is uniquely yours and that their role is to support, not to dictate. When you stop caring about what others think, you also open yourself up to a life of greater freedom and joy. You are no longer weighed down by the constant pressure to conform or to meet someone else's standards. Instead, you are free to explore, create, and live in a way that feels authentic to you. You can take risks, make mistakes, and learn from them without the fear of judgment holding you back. You realize that true happiness comes not from external approval, but from living in alignment with your own values and purpose. Letting go of the need for external validation is one of the most empowering things you can do for yourself. The opinions of others will always be there, but they do not define you. Your worth is intrinsic, and it comes from within. By focusing on your own path, trusting your inner voice, and staying true to your values, you can live a life of authenticity and fulfillment, free from the constraints of other people's expectations. You are the author of your own story, and the only opinion that truly matters is your own. Understanding the difference between what you can control and what you cannot is an essential component of emotional intelligence and mental well-being. It is a skill that requires self-awareness, discipline, and most importantly, acceptance. When you grasp this distinction, you empower yourself to focus your energy on what truly matters, things that you can influence or change, while letting go of those you cannot. This realization can transform your approach to life, reducing unnecessary stress and increasing your capacity for peace and productivity. Many of us struggle with the desire to control outcomes, whether it's in our personal relationships, our careers, or even the broader world around us. We often think, if only I could make this happen, or if only things were different, I would be happy. But the truth is, much of life is beyond our control. No matter how much we want to shape circumstances to fit our desires, there will always be forces that lie outside our influence. These include things like other people's opinions, unexpected events, or broader societal trends. Trying to control these external factors is not only a futile exercise, but one that can drain your energy and leave you feeling powerless. One of the first steps in understanding what you can control is recognizing that your power lies in your response to life, not in life itself. Life will always present challenges and situations that you may not have anticipated or desired, but you can always choose how you respond to them. This is the essence of control, the ability to govern your thoughts, actions, and emotions in the face of uncertainty. When you understand that your reaction is your primary source of control, you begin to shift from a mindset of victimhood to one of empowerment. Imagine a scenario where you're facing a difficult situation at work. Perhaps your company is undergoing restructuring and there's uncertainty about your position. The natural reaction might be to feel anxious, worried, or frustrated, wishing you could do something to stop the changes. But this restructuring is something you cannot control. It is a decision made by people or forces beyond your influence. What you can control, however, is how you handle the situation. You can choose to remain calm and professional, seeking out opportunities that may arise from the changes. You can focus on your own skills, your work ethic, and your ability to adapt to new circumstances. Instead of allowing fear of the unknown to paralyze you, you can control your approach to navigating through it, which ultimately puts you in a position of strength rather than helplessness. This principle applies across all areas of life, including personal relationships. Often, people fall into the trap of thinking they can control how others feel about them or what others do. They may try to change someone's behavior, convince them to act differently, or mold them into an idealized version of who they think they should be. This is a path to frustration because in reality you cannot control how another person behaves or feels. You cannot force someone to love you, respect you, or treat you the way you want. What you can control, however, is how you engage in the relationship. You can choose how you communicate, how you set boundaries, and how you set boundaries, and how you respond to the other person's actions. By focusing on your behavior rather than theirs, you not only free yourself from the emotional burden of trying to control the uncontrollable, but you also empower yourself to make healthier, more thoughtful decisions about how to navigate the relationship. Another important aspect of this principle is learning to accept what you cannot control. Acceptance is not about resignation or giving up. It is about acknowledging the reality of a situation and choosing not to resist it with frustration or anger. This doesn't mean you have to like the situation or agree with it, but it does mean that you recognize that some things are simply out of your hands. Acceptance allows you to conserve your emotional and mental energy for the things you can actually influence. Instead of fighting against reality, you learn to adapt to it and make the best of the circumstances you find yourself in. Let's take, for example, the natural aging process. No matter how hard we try, we cannot stop time. We cannot control the fact that our bodies change as we grow older, that we face new health challenges, or that society's perception of us may shift. However, we can control how we respond to these changes. We can choose to take care of our health, stay active, and maintain a positive attitude about aging. We can decide to focus on the wisdom and experience that comes with age, rather than mourning the loss of youth. By accepting what we cannot change and focusing on what we can, we navigate the aging process with grace and strength, rather than fear and resistance. The same applies to larger global issues. Things like political turmoil, economic downturns, or environmental crises are often beyond the control of an individual. Worrying excessively about these issues, while understandable, is not productive if it leads to feelings of helplessness. Instead, focus on the small actions you can take to contribute positively, whether it's voting, staying informed, or making lifestyle changes that align with your values. Recognize that you cannot solve these problems alone, but that you can still make a meaningful difference in your own sphere of influence. Ultimately, understanding the difference between what you can and cannot control is about learning to direct your energy wisely. When you focus on the things you can control, your actions, your mindset, your responses, you position yourself to create real change in your life. You become more resilient in the face of challenges because you no longer waste energy fighting battles you cannot win. Instead, you channel that energy into the areas where you can make a difference, leading to greater peace, productivity, and fulfillment. This mindset allows you to move through life with a sense of calm and clarity, knowing that while you cannot control everything, you can always control how you choose to navigate the journey. In conclusion, life presents us with countless situations beyond our control, from the opinions of others to unexpected events. However, true peace and power lie not in trying to manipulate these external factors, but in mastering our internal responses. When we stop caring about things we cannot influence, we free ourselves from unnecessary burdens and unlock the potential to focus on what truly matters: our mindset, actions, and decisions. By embracing the wisdom of letting go and concentrating on what we can control, we pave the way for personal growth, resilience, and a more fulfilling life. Ultimately, you are the architect of your own experience, and when you learn to navigate life's uncontrollable elements with calm and clarity, you discover the profound strength within yourself to thrive in any circumstance.